Hey, welcome to Hear Us Out. I'm Paul,
And I'm Patrick.
and how's it going?
And how is it going? So, everybody who's going to be joining us, welcome to another live show. We, as you all know, transitioned to live shows and turned this into a bit more of a podcast, which is historically been going off your requests and your questions in the last, what we've done 2 or 3 weeks now of user questions or user
Yeah.
audience questions. Guess what my day job is when I say user? Um, we're bringing our own topics for a little bit of change, so that you don't know what we're going to be asked in advance. But in the comment section, please do jump in, ask any questions you want, throw in any comments that you might have on what we're saying. But most importantly, if you could hit a little like, and if you're listening to this in the future and you like what you see here, maybe hit a little subscribe. That's all the begging done, Paul. Let's kick it off for
Oh,
tonight. What are we talking about first?
so we got a couple of topics, and we got my topic first, which I'm really excited about because Patrick is very much the sound guy,
Hey,
in
I'm
many
excited.
different ways. Which is let me just read the thing. So it's because which is better, OST or a various playlist for a movie soundtrack? So like
Okay.
which one do you think is better? Do you think that it's like a variety of artists that are placed into different parts of the movie, like specifically for those scenes, or like original soundtrack stuff designed for the movie? So like I guess Inception to something else.
Well, I'm gonna jump in on behalf of the audience here and kind of clean up a few of the blurry lines around this by asking you a series of questions.
Sure.
So when you say, because people interchange the phrases all the time, and as you say, sound guy, the word soundtrack is one of the most incorrectly used words in the history of audiovisual medium.
Hmm.
But the idea that you have original songs written for a movie, they're
Hmm.
original songs. If you're writing music for a movie, people generally call it a score. Sometimes your original soundtrack can contain both of those. Sometimes your original soundtrack can contain entirely just music that people picked for the movie, so it mightn't have been created for it. That's one of the things that we'll break down a little bit here, because I think the question you're asking is it uh, is there a big preference towards having music specifically created for the movie, and that would be music as in lyrics, etc., as well,
Yeah,
not
like
just the score, not just John Williams' fantastic Star Wars or Danny Elfman's boppy little Men in Blacks.
yeah, like that's back to Will Smith, are we?
I Yeah, well, I didn't mention Wild Wild West till you brought him up just now.
That's true.
Paul loves Wild Wild West. Everybody, it's his
Oh,
favorite film.
it's the metal spider. Um, like yeah, I guess yeah. So it would be custom made original music for the movie, which would include a lyric or non-lyric kind of thing. Because you did escape my trap because I was going to be, oh, that's really interesting. Like Scott Pilgrim is specifically a lot of the music is designed, or a lot of the songs and stuff like that are specifically designed for the movie, and also a lot of it
Yeah.
is also, and then it's a mix because like I think Black Sheep did the one of the songs, and then a lot of the other stuff is specifically designed for the movie.
Yeah, and
So yeah,
Beck co-wrote a lot of the stuff. I know Beck had a big hand in the Scott Pilgrim soundtrack creation. Let's call it. One thing I do want to say in Paul's defense, I'm going to be battering him around the place with silly questions, because when we started this channel and we wrote down a list of topics that we ever wanted to cover, I had score, soundtrack, and all sorts of stuff listed out there, and we never got round to doing any until now. So Paul's walked into my trap more than I've walked into his.
yeah. Well, I'd also like to point out that we're going to be like, this is kind of more kind of like a conversational piece. Like when
Yeah.
we hopefully do move back to, with just being able to be in the same room and stuff like that, we'll probably do more details, kind of like
Oh yeah.
stuff on
But for now,
soundtracks and stuff
I'm
like
gonna
that.
I'm gonna say, if you have to, if I could summarize my feelings on this in one sentence and then we can talk, it's that I don't care if it's score, if it's original music, if it's music that has pre-existing music that's being paired with a movie, and I don't care if it's there's a difference between music that we hear and the characters don't, or music that the characters hear and we don't. I think sound is an incredibly important part of filmmaking. Everybody knows that. And I think a lot of people forget how important pairing the right music with the right moment, and I specifically say moment,
Hmm.
is one of the key things. So if you can keep your emotional flow going using sound when you aren't able to use visuals because something else is happening on screen, it's usually a sign of a great director. Chris Nolan is a fabulous, fabulous example of that.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I have to sneeze. Put myself on mute.
He's put himself on mute, and when he comes back from his sneeze, I want to ask him where this question kind of came from or what. It's time for you,
It's
Paul,
gonna.
to squeeze the juice out of us now that you've just squeezed the juice out of yourself. So yeah,
Uh,
what's your take on it?
so yeah, like I think, I split it once again because I don't. I like the kind of non-lyrical composed score stuff. I really do enjoy that because it doesn't feel like it takes too much from the scene, but really adds more to it. But um, if you can bring a lyrical element to it, I think it only works for very specific scenes, and it's actually I feel like it's the more dangerous of the two kind of thing. As well,
Explain.
not dangerous, but as in it is more like so either
More risky. It can go more wrong, or
yeah,
it
like
has a lower chance of going right.
as in the ratio of failure in a scene where it's either a preconceived player like a song that's like popular or something like that and brought in for the moment and stuff can as I said the ratio is a little bit more towards the failure part or like kind of takes you out of the place whereas background score music that's specifically really designed for it really works
Do you
well and tends
do
not
you
to
have any
fail.
examples that jump to mind? Because like for me, it's Scott Pilgrim came up. Now there's a movie whose music can't be separated from it too much because music is actually part of the story and plot. So there's a battle of the bands, there's a
Yeah.
band, music's ingrained in the movie. But then you can take a classic, any classic action movie, Top Gun, Top Gun, Highway to the Danger Zone, Kenny Loggins, all that good stuff. There's where anthemic music can work with your old montages, or hey, montage, Rocky, Eye of the Tiger montage, training scene stuff. There's where you have a high chance of success because it doesn't even. There are two examples where there's literal lyrics kind of nodding at what's happening.
Hmm.
Sometimes I think even if the lyrics don't match, if you can capture the feeling and blast it out, it can work as well as a piece of orchestral score. But you're right, much better chance of messing it up if you go down the song route.
Yeah, like I think that's really good examples because like I the Tiger and like with Danger Zone and everything like that is the perfect examples of where those like songs with lyrics kind of really work well. But there's like movies like what is that called? Like
Give me a hint.
it's
I'll
got
help out.
Owen. I think not Owen
Wilson.
Wilson. No, it's the other Owen, the one that's from Sin City and stuff like that. I can't remember his name. It doesn't matter.
Uh,
Um, oh, do you remember it?
no, no, my brain just went Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru from Tatooine. I don't know why, but when you said Owen, I had Owen Wilson and Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru from Star Wars.
Okay.
I don't know why
Thank
that happened.
thank God it's not Uncle Owen, because I think he'd be very much out of his depth in Sin City. Wait, hang on. When
Yeah.
he died,
Clive Owen.
Clive
Clive
Owen.
Owen. Sorry. There you go. Sorry.
That's
That's how
it.
my brain works. You have to go via,
The
the
weird.
Dagobah system to get to things sometimes.
I always enjoy just thinking about those the connections in which like when you're thinking of someone because like a lot of the times when someone says an actor's name that I can't visualize, I always ask a
Yeah.
movie that they've been in and like although I still might not recognize the name, I recognize the character and I'll be just like, oh yeah, them, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Um, so it's always interesting. But yeah, Clive Owen, which goes, he's in a movie. I think it's called like bang. It's not Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, but it's like I know
Okay.
it's not Shooter, but
Okay.
it's got a couple of like song things in it from popular music that really kind of like take away from the actiony part. But that's because
Oh,
there's also speaking in it. Whereas I think montages and stuff like that like mix well with that kind of because as you said you're trying to show a feeling. Like Eye of the
Mm.
Tiger is Rocky training and getting ready for the fight and stuff, and it's like keep yourself, focused and everything. And Eye of the Tiger is perfect for that. And then Danger Zone is really good for, what they're doing. Top Gun, like aircraft or Navy pilots and stuff. Also, Working for the Weekend, which is another song in that movie in Top Gun,
I
when
knew when
they're
I said
bombing.
Top Gun that was going to jump into your head because I know you love that.
That's a really
Well,
that's a it's a really good song to kind of show relaxing and relief and stress. Kind of like getting rid
it's
of.
true. I think one of the things to not be overlooked, because I don't know the film necessarily you're talking about with Clive Owen, but in my head I just played a scene where there's music happening and there's also still characters talking and you're trying to discern them from lyrics, etc. That can be very distracting. Sometimes it can be used to great cinematic effect to build more a sense of frantic tension, etc. Um, but I think the other side of that is you can use music to help reinforce the genre, the style, or the tone, and not just in a high art way. Because we're talking low art, that's terrible. Top Gun's great. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but if you're talking, you want to try and reinforce that you're doing an everyday action movie or whatever. If you have somebody walking in, getting off their motorcycle or getting out of their car, and they've been listening to ZZ Top or ACDC, and they go into the bar and it's implied that the jukebox is or the radio station is still playing the same song before the bar fight, and then it gets louder when the dialogue stops. That's, as far as I'm concerned, that's still artful filmmaking. But as well as being clever in its very simplistic way, it's reinforcing the type of film you're watching. You're like, yeah, this is a bar fight scene with like ACDC. That's okay. Whereas you watch something like Driver with Ryan Gosling, and the music is such a huge part of that movie, but in such a different way, even though it is action driven in places. The music never gives it that action movie feeling.
Yeah, no, I definitely like. I didn't even think about the transitional thing with music that you did there, because like, yeah, I would. That's a study in itself. We could do an entire episode just on the real nice transitions of musical sources, because like
Yeah.
in Scott Pilgrim alone, it's the music is always coming from somewhere. Like it's
Mm.
not like it's not a far off radio or something like that. It is something on screen, kind of like, or being played by a specific person, kind of thing. Edgar
Edgar
Wright,
Wright's a genius with it, though.
yeah,
Yeah, he's
yeah,
just a genius.
his combination of transitions alone is like something that,
Mm.
like, if anyone on chat is like watching or even like on demand watching this, like if you really want to see how like properly to do like scene transitions in many different ways that are just way more exciting than what's been done in the past, Edgar Wright is definitely the man to look at.
Yeah. And
Like,
he is one of the reasons that I had to get so particular about soundtrack earlier on, because soundtrack can technically, depending on what form you're talking about, it can include sound effects, etc. And his genius of using musical beats, physical objects, and the soundscape of even the surroundings, those physical objects, to work with an amazing visual transition from scene to scene. I'm pretty sure I haven't been to film school lately, but I'm pretty sure there's probably an Edgar Wright transitions class.
I really
And if
hope
there
so.
isn't, there should be.
Oh yeah,
There really should
definitely.
be. So
Yeah.
Baby Driver hasn't got to mention his other very musically driven film, but in a very different way to Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah, like that's see, this is because Edgar, like, Baby Driver is like a weird one for me because it feels like those tracks and the scenes are melded perfectly together. There's very physical rhythm beats with the music and stuff. So like, yeah, like something will happen and it'll be perfectly stapled with the musical beat, which is just fantastic. It's all different tracks as well, which is a variety of different musics and stuff, which
Oh
is
yeah.
just fantastic kind of thing, because it means that you're never kind of like always playing on one musical group. You've got a variety of it, which, yeah, opens the door to the I'm trying to, subtleties of the scenes and stuff like that, which is really really
Mm.
nice. Edgar
And
Wright is a
again, it's part of the story. It is part of the story there as well. Like Edgar Wright does like to make music part of his not just story, but also a plot driver from time to time. Which, the Battle of the Bands mechanism in Scott Pilgrim was pre-written for him. Baby Driver, the character's tinnitus and how he uses it to relax and how he uses it to control mood and block out the world when he needs to. Like he's, I think one of the reasons he's so great with music is because he writes with music, as in it's part of his story. So he's not going to be getting it too wrong.
Yeah, which is just he's Edgar Wright is the like person who I was fearful in the conversation about this because like he kind of breaks the mold on a lot of stuff, you know,
Mm-hmm.
which is really nice. My so the where this question came from is I was having a conversation with which was with friends, and they were talking about how a movie they were watching really dragged them out of the whole thing because the existing music or songs and stuff like that from popular music or anything like that wasn't right fit for what was going on screen,
Okay.
and it kind of made me the question kind of like, well, which is it from the basic things was which is better, a original score, I guess, or kind of like either an original kind of playlist.
Yeah, I
You
get
know
what
what I
you
mean?
mean. Well,
But then
like I'm, yeah. So go. Sorry.
I decided to expand it because then I was just like, what? Because having original score is all fine and well and stuff like that, but having original songs lets us include then Scott Pilgrim in a lot of different ways and other
Yeah.
songs. Because like if it, Bohemian Rhapsody is a really interesting one because its playlist is the music of Queen and it's about like it's a weird kind of like
Yeah. By necessity, it's very much a musical film. Yeah, no, I get you. And again, I had about 20 different topics. We will go back to some of them, but I'm gonna squeeze in some of them a little bit here, cheating a little bit on you,
oh
Paul,
dude,
because you
let's
mentioned score.
little flavor
Little
so
little
people yeah like little flavor so
little
people will
soups
come
on there,
back,
folks.
you know, gives a
But
little
yeah, like
taste.
score, taking the just orchestral score, the traditional idea of score, or I don't like to say orchestral anymore because you have Daft Punk did it with Tron Legacy. Trent Reznor, everybody should work out that I'm probably going to be a Nine Inch Nails fan. But what Trent Reznor did with The Social Network, and the other guy for I can't remember who his co-creator was for the music. For Alan Sorkin's masterpiece, Social Network, which I still don't understand why some people don't like. I get it if you don't like Mark Zuckerberg, but don't blame the film. It's a great film.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah,
one.
yeah. There's some people who I think have too much of a dislike for Mark Zuckerberg that they can't get over the fact that it's a film about him rather than is him. Also, Jesse Eisenberg pisses people off.
See, that
He
was
just does.
I was gonna ask that question. Is it Mark Zuckerberg or is it Jesse Eisenberg or Jesse?
Uh, yeah, Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah, isn't it? Yeah,
No, it's Mark Zuckerberg and Jesse Eisenberg. Is which one of those
you swapped
people
them around.
piss?
Yeah.
I know
Anyway,
I did. Yeah, which one of those people do people get more pissed off from? Is my question. Like,
hmm.
you know, but yeah,
That's a good
like
point, actually. Yeah, well, I know that Jesse Eisenberg annoys the hell out of a load of people. Doesn't bother me at all, strangely. I like the guy. I like him in a lot of different things. I guess Zombieland was a great introduction for me to him. So maybe if you show up at my house and you're with a very cool and likable Woody Harrelson, you're probably going to get a pass for life, you know?
oh
Because
yeah,
Zombieland, yeah, that introduced me to him. And let's face it,
there's
that
a
film's full of charm.
there's an interview with him and it's him slagging. I think it's for my
Now you see me.
yeah, and I think that's what got rubs people the wrong way. Is that interview is he was kind of being a dickhead, but anyway,
Yeah.
like
The interviewer didn't seem like the coolest lady in the world either. So, but hey, I'm not picking a side in that in case I accidentally trip into the internet war that I didn't know was going on. But yeah, so back to the idea of scores. So you've everybody thinks of John Williams or the big scores. So you've got Jaws, you've got Star Wars, anything that was ever used in a Steven Spielberg work. They're always amazing, and they're almost always John Williams. Ennio Morricone we talked about as part of our spaghetti western stuff. But I think the modern version of it, that idea of going to someone like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, he's doing these compositions, a lot of piano with a mix of industrial, real foreboding stuff that isn't just background music. They're still motivated musical choices. So it's not. I hate it when people refer to score as background music because that would make the famous "Duna Duna Duna" of Jaws
Yeah.
background music. And tell me that's background music, and then the fight's over. I'm like, oh well, there's no point in talking to you. You're just being unreasonable.
Yeah, like perfect examples is even just like the Jaws kind of sound like a theme song, like the Imperial March for Star Wars, or like simply Indiana Jones does, or Jurassic Park. Like there's plenty of
Yeah,
things that like you would not like like if it's background music, why the hell do you go, oh, the like automatically being brought straight into the movie by any sound? It's
yeah.
just like "Du-du-du-du,"
I
Indiana Jones.
That's it. Yeah, and the Imperial March is certainly something that a few bars in, everybody straight away knows. Just even if the few people that still haven't seen the original Star Wars films still recognize the music, that's how pervasive in pop culture some of those great musical pieces are. Fun thing is, there's no right or wrong answer. I have soundtracks from films where I've bought both the soundtrack and the score, and they are completely separate, completely different, and both brilliant. Because if you're good, you're good, and that tends to be the way. People who get one right can get the other right. But it's rarely recognized, the fun stuff that you can get out of a random soundtrack. I talked about it very briefly a couple of years ago, and I wanted to do a whole episode on one soundtrack, and that was Judgment Night. Judgment Night is a fairly mediocre Emilio Estevez, um, the guy from, oh God, he'll come to me. A few kind of B to A list stars now that were kind of nobodies at the time. Dennis Leary's in it as the bad guy at one point. But long story short, forgettable
Okay.
film, but everybody had the soundtrack for a while because they decided to get a rap act and a rock act and get them to do a song together. And the
Okay.
whole soundtrack is like 10 of these. So you got Slayer and Ice-T, Biohazard and Onyx. You've got Booyah Tribe are on there, and like all sorts of heavy, good metalers and
Hmm.
good people from rap at the time. And it really worked. A lot of people don't like it in hindsight because they think it helped create the rap rock genre that came after that.
What is this? Lincoln Park probably was a
Like,
big
yeah,
beef.
new
Yeah.
metal and all that stuff, Limp Bizkit. Check it out, get yourselves YouTube away, the Judgment Night soundtrack. There are people there working together. Sonic Youth, and I can't remember who it was, did a tune together. Two artists you would never put in the same room, and just great music came out, like really, really funny stuff. Um, so yeah, sometimes somebody making a movie will just go, you know what? I'd like some music to go with this. And they have enough pull or they have enough sway. And what we get out of it are some great songs we wouldn't have otherwise gotten.
Well, yeah, like because there's plenty of stuff in like I know we keep bringing it back to Scott Pilgrim, but there's plenty of songs in Scott Pilgrim that I just really really enjoy. Like
Oh, yeah.
and then original score stuff, like there's plenty of like Inception has a fantastic like original score as well, which is like several times just listened to that. Which is The Iron Giant, which is like my favorite animated movie, has a fantastic original score to that as well. And like it's hard when you're saying like they have enough pull to kind of like I guess bring out new songs that we wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah, like I guess the big thing is that we wouldn't have Wild Wild West or Men in Black if that wasn't the case. So yeah, no, I definitely.
This is very, I'm really glad that we're going to keep full circling with the steampunk metal spider. Someday I want to get the cast of that movie together to be interviewed by us. Just so we're like, you were running gag for about a year on our little YouTube channel.
Yeah,
Um, but you do still raise, even with the joke, you raise a good point because
yeah, like
without, um, who was it? I can't remember who made Into the Wild right now. Damn it. Director and actor, and his name will come to me, but I got to stop doing this live on air. But Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam, who is Eddie Vedder, the solo artist, he
yeah.
did the soundtrack for that movie. He did Into the Wild. And being honest, when you consider his style and the style of the movie that it was, because I don't know if you've seen Into the Wild, for anybody who hasn't, it's the story of the guy who goes up into Alaska and wants to live off the grid, and it's his whole journey there. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but suffice it to say, the idea of having one emotional, kind of slightly gravelly, almost kind of outdoors sounding Eddie Vedder writing very emotional, downbeat, long form tunes really worked. Really, really worked. And without that, that was the start of Eddie Vedder's solo career. So there's a time when a director said to somebody, "This is the movie I'm making. This is the story. Will you make songs that match it?" Ended up giving us a lot more than just a great movie and a great soundtrack. It gave a whole career to Eddie Vedder after that.
Yeah, like it's like, as you said, the Nine Inch Nails guy, Trent Reznor.
Trent
Like
Reznor,
like even he's kind of like, I know Nine Inch Nails is still a fantastic band kind of thing, but like it's kind of reinvigorated his kind of like, writing scores and stuff like that and writing music, and so like it's interesting kind of seeing the transition of maybe artists from one end of the spectrum to another and finding that kind of like area of expertise that they may have bring to that section of the music that may not have been brought to before. Because like as you said, Trent Reznor is bringing a lot of industrial piano and kind of mixtures and stuff like that, which works really well. And there's not many people who have probably thought of that at the start, going like this, because there's also, I would say, in many aspects of media, there's purists who think that original score means orchestral, as you said,
exactly.
and then
Yeah,
there's other ones who are kind of branching out and trying to find the new kind of, I guess, elements that can maybe help tell the story and give that feeling and stuff. So it's interesting. Because the other part that we haven't talked about is that uh, the first song you hear uh, on for a movie can really set off the whole thing already. Like
that's
it's
true.
like, because if you hear, I think it's why the first music you hear in a James Bond film is the original James Bond theme and then the specific song for the movie.
Yeah,
Like
that's a good
Skyfall.
point.
So like you have the du-du-du-du-du-du-du, and then you have Skyfall's like theme song kind of thing, always in that kind of order. And it tells you you're watching James Bond Skyfall. Um,
Yes.
but like if Triple X, like it has, I know I'm going, because I'm going to try
Did
and
it start
vary
with
everything.
Limp Bizkit? Because I've never watched Triple X, but I'm assuming it started with Limp Bizkit or something like that.
It starts with Ramstein,
Oh,
which really sets off the whole kind of which goes extreme sports Russian gang kind of thing. Because they're, yeah, so it's all kind of,
which, not having seen Triple X, extreme sports Russian gang still makes sense because I'm aware enough of Triple X. Is like, yeah, why did I never get around to watching something that must be as ridiculous as I think it is?
well, let's just say that the first spy or secret agent is at a Ramstein concert dressed like James Bond. Very funny.
Right.
Um, it's showing that, yeah, but like it's so the Ramstein sets the mood, but it's interesting because if you get that wrong, like, and I don't
Mm.
know many movies that do get it wrong, as in like
Mm.
have started off with a piece that has put you down a track. I guess Heart of the Sea might. Heart of the Sea. It's the Chris Hemsworth
Oh, it's
movie
the Ernest
about.
Hemingway story. Yeah, it's the.
It's
Yeah, I
about.
know. I know the movie.
It's like the
Yeah,
original story of what is it?
it's
Moby Dick.
Hemingway writing Moby Dick. Yeah,
Yeah. So like that hasn't that had like
I thought about that for years.
that set the mood in a weird way, because like I originally had thought, because it's like it's very good. It's not. It's just that it's probably a kind of me thing. But I felt like the opening song to that made my expectations for the rest of the movie a little bit off. So when it went into kind of like, I guess, the more realistic horribleness of that movie, which if you haven't watched it, definitely go watch it.
Yeah, it's worth a view.
It's a journey. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so it knocked me off a little kilter there, and it hasn't been until the second time that I watched that film that I've kind of really gotten on board to it.
Well,
It's
if
fun.
Downton Abbey had opened with Kenny Loggins' "Highway to the Danger Zone" from Top Gun, it would have set an unrealistic expectation subconsciously. Don't get me wrong; it probably would have been a really interesting start to that movie. Could have worked. Could have worked. We don't know until we try.
It's
But yeah, you're right. It would have mentally set me off. on probably the wrong path for what was to come. And I'm not picking on what was to come before anybody jumps at me. I want to just quickly throw in before I ask, because we're going to go to the chat in a minute if that's cool with you, Paul. But before we do, all you people out there in the chat, answer this question as honestly as you can. Now, I'm gonna forbid giving Baby Driver or Guardians of the Galaxy or any of the John Williams scores as your answer. But what's your favorite soundtrack or a soundtrack that you went out and bought? What movie have you watched and then thought, I want the music from that, or you downloaded it or Spotify'd it or whatever people do now. So Paul, have you had a movie soundtrack music moment over the years?
Yeah, like I've had a few. Like I think most kind of like I guess movie and TV enthusiasts would have, but I say the first one is definitely Iron Giant. The Iron Giant, because I have that on tape, I have that on CD,
Oh, wow.
and I have it on vinyl.
Wow.
Yeah, and I also have it on Spotify.
Couldn't find the 8-track. No, couldn't find the mini disc or the 8-track.
No, I don't. Like, I really wonder if there is an 8, or not an 8-track, but there is a mini disc.
A mini disc. We can make one. we can print out a little label and everything, just the Iron Giant's head.
Yeah, like it's interesting. Just to, I know I'm going to go down a little thread, but the tape is actually the book, but it has its own soundtrack to it. And what they did was they took certain elements of the original that tape and kind of evolved it into some of the songs that you hear in the animated movie, which is just an interesting little thing. So the tape is not; it's the book with music playing with it. And as I said, that's the evolution of it. So
that's very cool. Jeez, that's going to make. And again, before we look at the chat, we're not looking at you people in the chat yet, because we're going to go together, myself and Paul, to have a look at you. I'm going to give my answer, and it's going to be very obvious. It's going to be extremely obvious as to what soundtrack I will have had on both tape and CD, etc. Never bought the vinyl. The Crow soundtrack.
Oh, damn it. I was trying to get in there and be like, The Happening, because you're pointing to a tree, right? The Mark Wahlberg movie with the hat. No.
What are you trying to tell us? That man. Why are you so angry? Oh, I love that movie. It's so bad. It's like, did they even know they were in it? Yeah, that and Knowing. If I can watch The Happening and Knowing back to back, that's something that we should do. When lockdown is over, pizza, we're just going to watch Happening, stick some cameras and just do a live stream of us watching those back to back to see what people we will be by the time it's over.
I'm happy with that.
I'm probably sure one of us will be talking to the local plastic plant going, why do you hate us so much?
I've given you so much water. But
yeah, so the Crow soundtrack. But here's the fun thing about the Crow soundtrack. Not only did it work well in the movie, but and contained a lot of bands. I loved Henry Rollins band, Black Flag, and all his good works. Rage Against the Machine, you name it, they're on it. But they're usually not the entire soundtrack, but half of the soundtrack at least is people doing covers of someone else's song. So it's reinterpreted covers of other songs, which, as you know, can historically go really well or really badly. And this just happens to really have worked. And in fact, it's really funny that Henry Rollins did Ghost Rider is the name of the song. And when you hear the song, it's like Ghost Rider, motorcycle hero. You're like, strange. They put this on the Crow soundtrack, even though Ghost Rider is like out there, it hadn't been made into a movie yet. So movie people maybe didn't really care about the crossover of different graphic novel genre, etc. But yeah, it's a soundtrack that I owned on tape, wore the tape out. By the time I got CD, had it on CD. So will we see what people said in the chat? What they picked?
Will. Just do you have? Here's a list of ones that I do, because I will look at the chat.
Oh, sure.
Do you have the Terminator soundtrack? Terminator 2 soundtrack, actually.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I know it well. I don't think I officially ever had that, Paul. But yes, okay. I have.
You have it on Spotify, do you?
Yeah, Spotify. Yeah, that's right. Which didn't exist back then, but yeah, thanks.
Napster. No, wait. You Jaws, I'm guessing as well.
Jaws, yeah.
Interstellar. Did you start listening to that one?
No, I didn't,
Um,
but I do love it. Driver, the Ryan Gosling movie
so
I mentioned earlier.
that's one that I don't have actually, and I need to watch that movie again. But yeah,
Mm,
so,
me too.
yeah.
I don't watch it enough, and I watch it like once every 2 years, and I still don't watch it enough.
Hmm.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and Volume 2, as far as mixtapes for floating around, just because, when you pick some great classic tunes, it's handy to have them in one place.
They are very good. Yeah, like I do.
But
Yeah,
it's why I wanted to make that illegal. Because when people
yeah.
say best soundtrack lately, they'll go, "Oh, Baby Driver's great," or "Guardians of the Galaxy's great." I want to hear the deep picks, ones that you bought yourself. And anybody who's willing to admit that they had the Clueless soundtrack should, because there was a film called Go that had a great dance music / other music I wasn't really into, but it was just a cracking soundtrack. And I remember Clueless being a great mix of just weird musical styles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, a mate of mine put me onto that. He had it. He had the CD, and I'm like, "Why are we listening to the Clueless CD?" Like, oh, it's because it's really good.
I didn't think about that. All right,
Yeah.
venture over to the old
Over
chatty
to the
chat.
chat. So let's have a look. First of all, welcome everybody. Brew, I'm glad you made it. Our resident, by the way, Brew, for all of you that don't know him out there, is our actual resident movie or music influencer. He has Twitter followings and people take his musical taste seriously. I take it semi-seriously, Brew, just semi-seriously, that's all.
Hmm.
So what's he got here? People go to arenas to watch movie scores. Yeah. Having an orchestra play a movie score live is impressive.
Yeah, like it's also one of those things that like yeah, everybody's so fascinated and stuff because we went to Indiana Jones and the
Oh,
Raiders of the
nice.
Lost Ark, I think. Yeah, Raiders of the Lost
Nice.
Ark, and it was played by an orchestra. Fantastic.
Oh, wow. And I see there's a whole section of Brew here that is to do with the Judgment Night soundtrack. So Pearl Jam versus Cypress Hill, Teenage Fan Club versus De La Soul. Yeah, they were all classics. Oh, the Romeo and Juliet and Garden State soundtracks. I didn't have the Romeo and Juliet one. It wasn't my thing. Garden State soundtrack, guilty pleasure. Absolutely love every tune on that.
Is is the Romeo and Juliet soundtrack? Is that the one with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah, so it's the Cardigans and people like that are on the soundtrack. It was
Oh.
very much of its time. Very popular, very popular soundtrack.
And Garden State, is that the one with Zach Braff?
Yes, and that
Okay.
has Leonard Cohen and a lot of softer music, I suppose I'd say.
Hmm. Do you know what? Do you know actually? There's a song which goes "Where Is My Mind" by the Pixies. I don't know the actual
Yes.
soundtrack name, but that always, anytime that plays and stuff like that, it always reminds me of the ending scene in Because oh my, Fight Club.
Sucker Punch.
Fight Club, actually. Where
Oh,
is?
because Sucker Punch, they have a version of actually Sucker Punch. I'm so glad you said it. That soundtrack is incredible, and they do a
That?
version of um, Pixies "Where Is My Mind" that, blasphemy as much as it might be, is as good as the original, and maybe at certain times of day even better.
They also do I think, a cover of what is his name? Manson, which goes
Oh,
Tainted.
Beautiful People. Yeah, they
Tainted
do.
Love as well. I think they maybe do two then. Did they do a
Yeah, well,
cover?
I can't remember. I was trying to think of his name when I said "Beautiful People" because yeah, I know who you're thinking of.
Yeah, I think they do Tainted Love and yeah, Beautiful
His
People. I
"Tainted
think.
Love" was actually a cover of an old song
See,
by, I think it was the Eurythmics, wasn't it, or Annie Lennox? No,
yeah,
Eurythmics.
which is interesting because they do a cover of Manson's version of Tainted Love, which is a cover of another. It's a really
Yeah,
it's
you gotta love music for the covers of the covers of the covers. Um, the honorable mentions in here. So you've got popular one. Pulp Fiction has to be one of the most popular song kind of album cover things of all time. It's just it's like the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack of its day,
okay.
insofar as a lot of people loved it. I
Ah,
myself liked some of the tunes. I'd be much more likely to go nuts over "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou," which I don't know, was that even listed here? Did someone
that
call it
is a
out?
great Coen Brothers movie. That's really good. That's got such a
Mm.
wide variety of Southern music, which is just fantastic.
Yeah, it's and the when they really lean into the bluegrass kind of tub thump and stuff, it's just fantastic too.
Yeah.
Brew says he doesn't think he's ever listened to a score. Brew, I will be sending you a list of 10 scores that you should put the headphones on and go listen. Because trust me, even without lyrics, you listen to enough dance music, you know lyrics aren't the be all and end all.
The
Resident Evil soundtracks. Damn it. I have a couple of those as well.
wait, which
Because
as in the
because metal.
movies?
Yeah, look, good soundtracks can come out of extremely dodgy movies. I saw the look on your
No,
face. Don't judge me.
it's no, it's me trying to remember what's on that what's on that soundtrack. That's
The first Resident Evil soundtrack is quite hefty.
you're gonna look it up there. Yeah, no, because I'm really because that was what the look was. It was more that I was trying to remember
Yeah.
what was on it rather than me going Resident Evil shit. Because Resident Evil is still on my top list of good adaptations of of a video game to movie. The
To be
first one,
fair, that's true. And
the
luckily
Resident
it's
Evil
come
Village
up.
one.
Marilyn Manson is the person we were trying to think of a minute ago, as in his first name for Manson. So yeah, the Resident Evil soundtrack has Slipknot, Cold Chamber, Marilyn Manson, Crystal Method, Fear Factory, Static X, Rammstein. It's got Depeche Mode. You name it, they've got it if you're into my end of music, I guess, or the end of the pool I swim in most often.
Sweet.
So yeah, good call out there. God, we have the best viewers ever. I love you all, and I especially love those of you that have already subscribed, but also tonight the ones that have hit like.
Are they your favorites? Are they?
Bit needy, I know.
I don't take it seriously. What is that, Brew? Is that you don't take soundtracks too seriously, or what's
Mm,
that referring to? Yeah, at the end of Fight Club. Yeah,
yeah.
that Pixie song is it really does remind me. It's interesting how I've gotten now songs that are from bands stuck in my head linked directly to a movie rather than the band itself. Like it took me a while to remember that that's Pixies, even though I was just like immediately was just like, yeah, the Fight Club movie, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
it's also Soft Cell. I think was the original Tainted Love, is what Brew is probably correcting me on. So thanks, Brew. Leafy, I'm going to pronounce it as Slipknot. My Plague was the song from the first Resident Evil movie. Yes, and what a stonker of a tune it really was. When you
yeah,
consider the first Resident Evil movie was the, I'm going to go ahead and say it was the best, but it was also the first one that it was the horror movie, not horror, but it was the one that took itself most seriously.
yeah,
Whereas the tongue went more and more in the cheek as the franchise went on, and I think the soundtrack reflected that.
yeah.
It
No,
was like, we're doing this.
yeah, like I definitely think because after a while they're just taking a piss. But yeah, I think Resident Evil and Resident Evil Two Raccoon City are both the two ones that take themselves the most seriously. But
Mm,
Resident Evil One is kind of like there's such a level of kind of like I guess care to the movie and soundtrack that it really kind of like it does transition well into that form. Which
yeah.
is the remake of Day of the Dead, or is it Dawn of the Dead? Day of the Dead, I think it is.
Okay.
Has that song? It's a heavy metal song. God damn it! What is it? It's Let the
If it's
Bodies Hit the
anything by Tool, I love it.
Let the
Let
Bodies
the
Hit the
bodies hit the floor.
Floor.
That's Cold Chamber, I think, did that, didn't they?
Yeah,
Somebody out there is going to correct me, I hope.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that was Cold Chamber.
that's like a fantastic. Like when I was saying, like how you set the mood for a movie. That's a fantastic way. That song to Day of the Dead. I think it's Day of the Dead. It's the one in the
I have
mall.
not been keeping up on my newer, like if Romero didn't make it the
No,
first
it's
time around, I probably haven't seen it, if you know what I mean.
he
I'm
did. Yeah,
terrible
no,
with my zombies.
it's a remake of. It is Day of the Dead. I think it is because I think the next one is Lands of the Dead.
Oh, hang on. Is this the remake that's in the mall with
Yes.
the
Yeah.
guy from Modern Family
Yeah.
is actually in it,
Yeah.
whose name has escaped me? I
Yeah.
have
He's.
seen that one.
I think it's Day of the Dead. I think
And I
it's.
think that is, well, while we're talking soundtracks and use of songs, uh, there is someone else who I absolutely love. And talking about doing great covers, Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash spent the last part of his career doing the greatest covers that will ever probably be done by anyone. But there is one of his songs that has been used in TV show after TV show, movie after movie, and I actually think it might be in that movie also. It's his little soliloquy where he's speaking, and
When the man comes
there
around.
is where it's the where he's talking about, and 4 horsemen,
Yeah,
and on the
when
last horse
it's
is death, and hell followed with him
yeah, it's when the man comes around.
when the man
That's
comes around.
yeah, that's a constant, like that's a staple in the zombie
Oh,
kind of thing. 'Cause
ah,
I think just to show the level of it, I'm fairly sure it was the, if not current choice for the ending of World War Z.
possibly. Like, don't get me
Um,
wrong, it's an amazing song, and I love it. But I think I remember hearing it in the Sarah Connor Chronicles. I'm pretty sure it was in that Day of the Dead movie. Now, I should point out, Paul, zombie movie expert, Patrick, not so much. I'm sure it's in more of them. If you're saying it's a go-to choice, I would say that's worth looking up. There's something that I might look up. How many times has The Man Comes Around been used in movies or licensed by TV?
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
guessing it's over a dozen.
I would say so. Yeah, no, definitely. Because the zombie movie variety is like so vast. I think also if you then expanded that to possibly like supernatural horrors, or it's like not even just the zombie genre, like that song alone would explode, because it's in the last episode of Generation Kill.
Oh, it is too.
Yeah, and like because it's the song of that he splits into the videotaping of the whole thing.
Well,
um
just for anybody who doesn't know, Generation Kill isn't actually zombie stuff. It's
yeah,
a miniseries well worth seeing. It's about soldiers' experience being followed around by a Rolling Stone reporter in Afghanistan.
yeah,
Check it out if you
it's
haven't. Made by the people who made The Wire.
Marine First Platoon or First Recon.
Recon, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and how they get shotted with Humvees and stuff. It's a really good. It's
Mm,
a
yeah, it's
biopic kind of thing. But
yeah, it's based on his real experiences as the Rolling Stone reporter, but based on, it's not an actual retelling. So it's
yeah,
got that element of truth, element of dramatization.
yeah, because Rudy is the actual guy. Remember Rudy?
Hmm.
He's the actual. He's one. He's like when they're just like, yeah, Rudy's beautiful. That he's actually in it. Like he's an actual Marine, and he was
Oh yeah,
actually the
yeah,
one
yeah,
with. He's like fully connected into the whole story and stuff. So he was the
yeah.
Marine that gave them the advice, and all. Yeah, no, never mind.
No, Generation Kill is a whole episode easy for us because I know we both love it. So trust us, we would not steer you wrong. Generation Kill, worth a look. HBO Max is probably the only place you'll see it now, unless you know other ways to procure things on the internet. And I'm saying no more than that.
I just
Yeah.
realized something.
So yeah, go for it.
I just realized something really bad. So I just want to point out this guy here in my background. He is
Yeah.
not Heiling Hitler. He is leaning
Oh,
on a wall. I
yeah.
did not realize. I was just looking at that, going like, oh, like yeah,
Well, and for that matter, I want to
probably.
point out that that plant is not telling me to do things, but I do think that it might be out to get us. And this is my prom picture, and that's my day job. Oh yeah, good call, good call. That looks a lot less. I don't even want to say Reiki, but yeah, okay, yeah. Let's move away from how serious your background's getting. I want to call out, because it's topical, Umbrella Academy season 2, not giving anything away, but their musical choices. You could not have picked a better week to mention this. Their song choice has been beyond brilliant in season 2.
Mm.
Also, season 2, big thumbs up so far. A couple of episodes away from the end, so don't spoil it for me. But
Oh no,
its music is just fabulous. Like, they are picking music from the time, and I won't talk about what the time is, but let's just say they're using period correct and slightly not correct period not correct music to set certain tones so well,
yeah,
better
yeah.
than anybody else in TV right now, I have to say.
I'd like, yeah, because from the first season, Run Boy Run and Constantinople, not Istanbul, or yeah,
Yeah, yeah, Istanbul, Constantinople.
yeah.
Oh,
Those two were
sorry,
really good.
YouTube, please don't demonetize us if I manage to get the tone right, and now we're going to get a takedown for
Please,
too many
please
beats.
monetize us.
Yeah, that would be nice too.
If you haven't liked the show or subscribed, you should definitely subscribe so we can get monetization and hopefully do this longer. Funny
Yeah.
enough, we have gone quite long on this topic. We
Yes,
were
we
going to
have.
it, which is really good because I think we do have to revisit this again and maybe kind of choose more kind of like aspects and drill it down because we kind of did a really
Yeah.
big wide spread of it,
We
which is
had
really
a
nice.
chat.
Oh, it was
It was
so
good.
good.
It was good.
So many
And you know,
avenues.
I'm glad you looked at the clock. We're going to head towards wrap up, but I would like to say that thank you everybody for joining us. We are going to have to compose a song to sing out. This is news to Paul now. I'm joking. I'm joking. I really just wanted to see if you were going to burst into song of "Okay, here is that. Okay, here is that. Do, do, do. Okay,
I
here is
think
that."
I think I tried to write. I think I tried. There is an episode where I do
Yeah,
sing a couple of things, and I was
yeah.
real embarrassing.
I did
Uh,
that to you once before, and you actually went with it, and I wanted to see if that was going to happen again.
the yes
And
anding.
I think it made air too, actually. Um, yeah. So Paul, I'm loving the musical vibe. We're not going to do this every week. Obviously, it's not going to be about music, folks. But I would love to hear from the people in the comments down below. If you've stuck with this video so far, I appreciate it. I love the view, love the watch time. But yeah, let us know what your favorite soundtrack is. Whether or not you're more into, soundtrack OST versus score in the traditional sense. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. Let us know if there's other parts of all this you'd like a deeper dive into, or even stuff for us to randomly rambly chat about, such as we did tonight.
Yeah, no, I like. Yeah, just talking about the soundtrack one, just drilling down into it. Yeah, if there's aspects too, because like I love talking with Patrick on a piece that you are so passionate about and kind of things and so knowledgeable that it really
I'm
like
hardly knowledgeable, but passionate about everything.
but
Wait
it's
till we
no,
talk about cars again.
oh yeah, well, like I do because now we got the whole Formula One thing on our sites as well, you know. But yeah, no,
Yeah,
I'd like definitely if there's aspects of the soundtracks and stuff like that that you really want us to drill into, please do because like it's fantastic. It really does kind
it's
of
a fun
bring out. I
topic.
think yeah, it's a real fun topic. Like we went everywhere. Edgar
Yeah.
Rice, like gonna just put his name in it again, which was, but
Yeah, no, I'm just wait. I was giving airspace to a steampunk spider joke. I didn't want
oh,
to
where
step in
you
and step on your wild wild west moment.
just like a spider steps
But
in a
yeah,
house.
hey, well,
Uh,
we have other topics that we're going to be covering in the future. So I'd love if you joined us next week out there, everybody. And if you're watching this video in the future, how's that going for you? Is the future good? I hope it's great. Watch all our videos; they're all like this except completely different. Um,
Way to
yeah,
give nothing away.
yeah, and don't
And
forget, what do we do,
everything.
Paul? Tickle the analytics because we don't
Oh,
smash subscribe buttons. We tickle them.
it is
He hates it,
so
and I'm going to keep doing it.
it's so creepy. It's so creepy. But yeah, so what's good. We as I said at the start, this is kind of a topic that we chose, which is we have plenty of other topics that we would like to do as well, but we also want to start intermingling them with your choices and stuff like that. So please send us on all our social channels and everything like that, which are down below Patrick actually, which goes
Yep,
on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also you can email us at heroesoutube at gmail.com. Isn't that right?
that's it.
Heroesoutube at gmail.com as well for any kind of topics that you want us to hear
And we
or
read the comments of every comment you make on a video. So even if it's not this video, if you think of something while watching one of our other videos, comment anywhere you like. We will see it. We will reply more than likely, and we will use it because you know what's better than thinking for yourself? Using your audience to think for you. So give us the good stuff, folks, and we'll take all the credit.
which goes also on our Twitter feed. If you want any recommendations for movies or anything like that, we are perfectly happy to kind of give you those. Just tweet at us and we'll give you kind of so tweet at us and tweet us a genre, and then we'll try and give you some good kind of recommendations and stuff like that.
And
Yeah.
we'll tag it Patrick or Paul so you can get a recommendation from each.
Oh,
Because if you ask zombie movies, I would take the Paul
oh,
recommendation.
tag Patrick. It'll be so good.
Yeah, but like we'll both give an answer, but I'll
Oh yeah,
give the obvious one, whereas Paul will be able to be like, "This is the great one that nobody ever watches." And if you ask about best
Spanish
car movie
Rose.
of all time and all that kind of stuff, I'll probably end up getting into a 40-page Twitter conversation with you. You've been
S-
warned.
So, which is with that, all the kind of advertisement and everything like that out of the way, which is
Yeah.
as usual, I am Paul,
And I am Patrick.
and we've been here as South. Thanks for
Oh,
watching,
and we'll see you next time.
and we'll see you next time. See you later, everybody.
Bye,
Don't forget,
everybody.
don't forget the socials. Socials.